In this video, I'd like to share the quickest way I've found to start experimenting with IBM's BigInsights Hadoop distribution. To demonstrate, I'm going to use a very simple MapReduce program and run it as a BigInsights application using Bluemix. Before starting, I've already created an IBM account for Bluemix and I already have the BigInsights Eclipse tools installed. The first thing I'm going to do is add an Analytics for Hadoop service on Bluemix, which you can find in the Big Data category. I'll just accept the defaults for the new service. That's basically given me a simple BigInsights instance I can play with, as you can see when I click on Launch. In the rest of the demo, I'll go through the steps I followed to run a MapReduce program on sample data from MDM server. The sample data is not that big, so I could use the upload option here in the console, but I wanted to try the BigInsights REST API instead. I'll use curl commands to create a directory and upload my sample data, as you can see in this script. I need to provide a username and password, which you can find from Bluemix. And the hostname is the same as the BigInsights console UI. Hopefully I can now run the script to upload my sample data. I'll just check the files using the web UI. You can see the new directory and the data that was uploaded here. For this demo, I'm going to count the number of people and organisations in each US state. I've already opened the BigInsights perspective in Eclipse, ready to create a new BigInsights project. Now I've created the project, I can create a Java MapReduce program. First, I need a state mapper class to process each line of text and output the US state. Next, I'll need a state reducer to output the total number of entries found for each state. And finally, a state count main class to run. The wizard creates a skeleton for each of those classes. To save time, I've imported finished versions, which I prepared earlier. The only things I've changed in the main class are the input and output paths, which now come from the command line arguments. The mapper just looks for the US state in each entry. And the reducer just counts up the totals for each state. The next step is to create a BigInsights application to run the MapReduce program from the web UI. This wizard creates a BI app directory to define the application, but strangely it doesn't create everything you need in that directory. The rest of the application definition can be added by the BigInsights publish wizard, but I wanted to edit the application details before publishing. The best way I found to do that was to import one of the BigInsights sample applications and use the imported BI app contents as a starting point. I'll go ahead and import the finished application files I created earlier. I also prepared the workflow earlier, and as you can see when I import it, I've just added a Java MapReduce action and configured it with my state counter classes. The last thing I need is a jar file for those MapReduce classes. I'm going to use a simple AMP build to create the jar, but you could use the Eclipse jar export tool instead. Now I should have everything I need to publish my new application, so I'll go ahead and connect to the BigInsights server in Bluemix. As before, I can get the URL from the BigInsights web UI, and the user ID and password are shown in Bluemix. Once the connection is working, I'm ready to open the BigInsights publish wizard. As you can see, this is where you get the chance to fill in all the application details, and it's picked up the values I entered manually. I've already defined the workflow. These are the parameters I'll be prompted for when running the application in the web UI. If you don't edit the application.xml file manually like I did, these get partially pre-populated based on the contents of the workflow. I've already created the jar file using Ant, but I could create it here if I needed to. Now that I've published the application, I'm going to switch to the BigInsights console to check it works. Before I can run the application, I just need to deploy it. Here you can see the two application parameters I specified, which I can use to provide the input and output paths. I can check the progress while the application is running, but I don't have much data, so it shouldn't take long. And finally, I can open the output and check the end results.